usually what you did in Vietnam, you'd search and destroy. You'd go through, go down roads, go through the jungle. You're looking for the Vietnamese and stuff, and then every once in a while you'd have just almost like a perimeter guard. So we securing that compound. We was on a compound securing their area, and just on guard duty. We'd probably stay there maybe 8, 9, 10 days, or maybe a couple of weeks or something like that. Then somebody would replace us, and we'd go back up to the field. So it was just a sort of giving you an R&R, taking a little bit of break, and then going back and forth. So that's what it was for.
Going to get from the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack L. Tilley. Let's bring him on.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
There he is.
Yeah, I'm just excited to hear about some of these stories.
What I heard was he was a G.I. Joe, and we were still playing with G.I. Joes when he was doing real shit.
you probably weren't here yet.
He was doing real stuff.
Exactly. I wasn't even a pipe dream when he was taking care of business.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. I had about 16 trips to Afghanistan, 3 in Iraq. Was actually fighting in the streets of Saigon when I was 18 years old. In the Pentagon for 9/11, overran once, 20 wounded and 7 killed. So that's, and I've worked, you already said that, I worked at every position they have from the bottom to the top of the United States Army. So I had a good tour, had a good life in the Army, and enjoyed every day of it.
Oh man, I can't wait to get into that actually. So real quick though, Sergeant Major, if you don't mind, we didn't want you to be waiting to come on with us for a while.
Yeah.
Albert Hero decided spring break was more important than a podcast last week. We've already given him shit for it, but we won't stop. And that led into getting stuck in the sand. You heard the story, all
Horrible.
that. But Al did a barbecue contest down here in Texas by us at one of the VFWs. Ty was over there. I was actually in New Orleans for that. But the picture here, I just wanted Al to be able to talk a little bit about that. And it's just one of the things, Sergeant Major, here that we're in a network of people that a whole bunch of veterans are on barbecue competition cook teams, right? So they can go out there and, you got to plan for the weekend. You got to buy your stuff. You got to do it's like your mission planning. You're executing the mission, and then after each cook-off, you have an after action to get better for the next one, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah. It makes
a lot of the veteran guys love doing it. I was a part of it. They actually placed top 10 in something, so I wanted to give Al some time to talk about it, but we wanted you to be a part of that instead of waiting in the back,
Oh yeah. No, go at it, Al.
And I'll be quick. I'll tell you what. I can't brag on the barbecue community enough. We do it from time to time, and we kind of touch on it and we talk about it. But I don't, outside of the military, and we all served, and we served for long periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
That community in the barbecue world reminds me so much of that camaraderie and the brotherhood and sisterhood that we had in the service, because people roll the red carpet out. People like Jen and Tom, and just you name it, they have a heart for service, and they have a heart for their service men and women, and it's such a therapeutic event to be a part of. Anytime I've done it, this is the second time I've had the opportunity to be invited and be a part of a barbecue competition or a barbecue cook-off, and it's life-changing and soul-changing. It's such an amazing opportunity to hang around with people that are, for one, just phenomenal cooks and outstanding at their craft and their trade, but just people that are willing to teach you and show you and hold your hand and let you be a part of this world. And it's a different world. It's truly a sport. I talk shit and say like golf's not a sport, and like barbecue is a sport. Like these people have, like, it's crazy. Like Matt said, the mission planning and the stuff that goes that on the front end of it, and then during the cook-offs, and then afterward, and just all the preparation and all the effort, and their families are involved, and it's just such an amazing experience. And I got to share it with my brother-in-law, which was pretty cool. We drove in 14 hours or so from Florida all the way to Texas again. We're going to do it again in September, but it's just such if you're a veteran out there and you're looking to get involved in something, and you just really can't find like your niche and you never tried anything, I would challenge you to find, and there are organizations out there that do it, you know, Texas Chrome, and there's probably some other ones out there that I don't even know about that do stuff for veterans in the barbecue world. I would challenge you to try it. Step out. It's very mission oriented. It's very detail oriented. It gives you something to focus on, and like it's just such a great time and a great atmosphere. And you're surrounded by just amazing people for the most part. I'm sure there's assholes out there, like there's assholes in everything you do. But at the end of the day, the people that I've been blessed to get to know, like Tom Clark and Jen Lee, and then anybody else that Ty's introduced me to, the 500 other people that he's took me around to, and got to meet the other veterans, Robert Rocha, and just people like that. I mean, it's such a great atmosphere and a great thing if you can jump in and just try it, give it a shot. It's very therapeutic.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And you guys placed 10th in what, ribs?
Chicken.
I know.
10th and chicken.
Jen says there, reach out and we can hook them up. So Jen is the premier promoter for the Danny Dietz Memorial Cook-Off. It's a KCBS sanctioned event that happens every September here in the greater Houston area. So she puts on a great event out at the Yogi RV Park. I mean, it's great cabins and everything out there. Great.
She is awesome. You can't even talk highly enough about Jen. I know, you know, I've had the honor and privilege of meeting her a handful of times. She's family. I mean, don't punch me, Tom. I love her. I love that woman to death. I think she's salt of the earth. She's an amazing person, and she just takes care of you. Like you know, a lot of people tell you they're going to do something for you. They're going to take care of you. They're going to look out for you. If she says it, it's going to happen. Like her word is her bond. Like it is legitimate. Mm-hmm. She cares greatly for veterans in the community. And I'm telling you, if you get an opportunity, take advantage of it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, can I say something real quick here? Yeah. What you're talking about is therapy.
Yes.
You know, I do my own podcast too, called Your Next Mission, but you know, there's 200,000 veterans that are incarcerated. About 86,000 are homeless, and probably maybe a little bit off of the number, but more than 125 or 30,000 have taken their life since 2001. And the majority of people that come on our show, we talk about it all the time, trying to find their tribe, trying to find out where they fit in. And this sounds like a great event where you can go and talk to other veterans and sit down and get off that couch and just sort of relax a little bit and talk about the things that maybe you went through or your family's going through or whatever. But it's a good time. Sounds like a great time.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. If you're in the Houston area, just hit us up. We'll get you out there and let you meet some of those wonderful people. Of course, Marcus Luttrell, the lone survivor, comes out there. This is a cook-off that's dedicated for Danny Dietz of, you know, the with the Navy SEALs. So they do wonderful work for the Navy SEAL.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Wonderful events. What about your event you got coming up? What's the second annual 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack Tilley?
Well, do you got any of you guys golf?
Oh, absolutely.
We golf, but I wouldn't call it golfing as much as I would call it hanging out.
Well, I try to golf on Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. I love playing golf. And so we have this will be the second year. We're teaming up with AUSA to help our veteran community out of Somerville Golf Course. It's best ball out there. So if you get a chance, come out and play with us. We're going to give away a truck, get a hole in one, you get a truck. So it's just coming out, doing what I was talking about just a minute ago, talking to other veterans, just relaxing, having a good time, drinking some beer, and just relaxing and having fun. So that's 10 April, Summerfield Golf Course in Riverview, Florida. So come out and see us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was going to say too, Sergeant Major, one thing that we could do, you have your own podcast where you have a lot of people you guys talk all the time about looking for tribes, man. We should connect you with a couple of these organizations we know that put some of this stuff on, like Jen and the guys at Texas Chrome, that, you know, they bring these guys through and teach them how to do that. And it kind of can give a picture of what people would be looking for, you know what I mean, on some stuff like that. So I think
what you do is
people that can help tell stories for you.
Yeah, what you can do is just send that stuff to us, and we'll look at them and see if it fits for our show. But yeah, absolutely, you got somebody to think ought to come on the show. We'd love to. If they got something that they're going to share with our veterans community and their families, sure, send it to them. We'll see if we can put them on the show.
Absolutely.
And the other part of that whole barbecue world is there are barbecue podcasts like shameless plug for the greatest
Yeah.
barbecue podcast in the history of podcasts, So
Yeah.
Smoke Gooder Show. I mean, you can, as a veteran, you can just start following some of these podcasts and following some of these cooks and learn from. I mean, I've learned so much from Robert Roach's show and just people that I've met on competing and following them. I mean, it's not as, I'm sure it seems daunting. You're like, now if you do it yourself, it's very expensive. I'm assuming I've priced some grills and some stuff. It's crazy, but
Yeah.
just step in and get with a veteran nonprofit or a veteran group and cook with them, man.
Yeah.
It's nothing but some time and like you said, a little bit of effort, and go out there and have some community and find your tribe. That may be it, but it definitely is a life-changing event if you get a chance and opportunity to do one.
Well, it's the same thing we talked about a little while ago. You never know what somebody's going through.
Right.
That's, in fact, what I asked everybody. I was a 12th Sergeant Major in the Army, so I asked all the veteran community on the 12th of each month, call somebody I hadn't talked to for a while, and get them on the phone and see what they're doing. I mean, because there's so many veterans out there that struggle, that just won't say anything about it. They'll just sort of keep it to themselves. So it's important for us to take care of each other. We really think the military is large, but it's really pretty small. And when we get out of the service, we sort of go in different directions and live our life. But there's a lot of people that still need some help. So we need to do all we can to help them out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, great job, Al. 10th place on chicken. That's amazing. But I do want to transition now, Sergeant Major, so we can get our audience to hear the amazing career stories, life advice, leadership advice, all the things that come along with being able to talk to somebody as distinguished as yourself, someone that's spans that much of time to see all those changes and has been a part of the leadership of those changes. So first off, just want to welcome you to the podcast. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you coming on to share your story with our audience. What we like to do on our podcast is we like to introduce our guests to our audience. If you don't mind, what we like to do is tell us a little bit about where you grew up, like where are you from, and what was it like for you growing up as a kid? What kind of things did you guys do? What were you into? Like, stuff like that.
Well, I grew up in Vancouver, Washington, and I was a poor kid. I played a lot of pool, played baseball, football, just like everybody else. Spent about 9 months in reform school when I was a kid. I wasn't the best kid in the world. I wasn't the best kid in the world. Struggled a little bit. Come back out of reform school. Went back to school, of course, and then graduated when I was 17. I'll tell you one other thing too, is the last 2.5 years before I ever went into the Army, I actually lived in a laundry room. My mother and father were divorced, lived in a duplex. I lived in this laundry room, just big enough for a single bed, had 3 shelves I'd put my clothes on, a little vent I'd look out, and then I'd pick my feet up and swinging them over and close the door, and the door would come right to the edge of the bed, and that's where I lived for about 2.5 years before I went in the Army. The other thing I'll tell you, which is maybe a little bit interesting, like I said, I wasn't the best kid in the world, and after I'd graduated, I'd sort of got back on track. I wanted to do things that were right, but I had not much direction. I was sort of stumbling along through life. And I was sitting on a beach, and somebody said, what are you going to do with your life? And I said, I have no idea. And they said, you want to go to college? And at the time now, I said, hey, guys like me don't go to college. Low self-esteem, nothing's going right, no direction in life. The next guy said, hey, you want to join the military? And I said, sure, why not? I didn't even know they was fighting a war, really. And I went basic, AIT, jump school, and then come on one leave, and then went to Vietnam. And I was initially assigned to the 173rd for probably about 4 or 5 days. And they had a big battle in the 1st Infantry Division, killed a lot of guys that were scouts, I guess. And so they took every other person and sent them to the 1st Infantry Division. And like you said, I was in A Troop Quarter Cav there. I was scared to death. I was on an old 48 A3. In fact, another story real quick. When I got there, I was initially on a track as a scout, and we got overran up in Vietnam, 20 wounded and 7 killed. And then, of course, they shifted people around, and I ended up on a tank. And the tank that I got on, everybody had gotten killed but the driver, right? I stayed on that vehicle for about 11 months. And a month or so after I left, everybody got killed but the driver. So I was just really very fortunate
So
to.
what did you do on that tank for the 11
I
months?
was
What
I
was
was
your
initially the loader on that
Mhm.
vehicle, 048, and then I got to be the driver on the tank, and then and that's where I stayed. That's where I left, was the driver. But
Wow.
in fact, when we got into a fire, I don't know if you guys ever been on a tank. Ty, have you ever been on a tank? I don't know if you have,
Roger, a
048 or
couple
something like
times.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you can just imagine all the ammunition they have, and we fired when we got in a firefight, we got overran. We fired probably about 32 or 33 rounds out of that tank. That's canister rounds,
Mhm.
right there. So it was pretty hot. And people talk about a long fight. I'm not sure how long this fight lasted, but it was long enough to do a lot of damage to us. It was
Mm.
right up close and personal with us, that's for sure.
And so was it just that and you're talking about the mission where you guys got overrun, right? Is that just a regular, what, if you don't mind, just to go back a little bit, like
Yeah, yeah.
what was the mission? What were you guys out there doing?
We just
You
on
know.
the usually what you did in Vietnam, you'd search and destroy. You'd go through, go down roads, go through the jungle. You're looking for the Vietnamese and stuff, and then every once in a while you'd have just almost like a perimeter guard. So we securing that compound. We was on a compound securing their area, and just on guard duty. We'd probably stay there maybe 8, 9, 10 days, or maybe a couple of weeks or something like that. Then somebody would replace us, and we'd go back out to the field. So it was just a sort of giving you an R&R, taking a little bit of break, and then going back and forth. So that's what it was
Mhm.
for. In fact, I was actually, and I don't know if you ever heard of it, but the Tet Offense, Tet
Mhm.
Offensive in Vietnam in 1968, where they overran Saigon. And yeah, I was down there fighting down there. In fact, I literally we got alerted about 2 o'clock in the morning. I got on this road called Highway 1 and Highway 13, rolling down the road, and we was off to the side of the road. And General Depew was his name. Come online. He was in a helicopter. Said, "Get on the road. Saigon's being overran. You got to get down there." And so we actually got on the road. I was the second tank going down in this tank squadron, and the first one got blown up. And so they just blown off the road, and probably one of the only times I took my flak jacket. At the time, they wasn't very good anyway, but I put it under my butt because I always thought I'd hate to get my butt blown off if that thing got blown up or something like that. So anyway, we got down to Saigon, and and there went to the airstrip at Saigon, and they had killed so many Vietnamese that you would actually, if you just imagine an airfield, there were so many bodies that you'd probably walk 10 or 15 feet and have to step over a body. They'd killed so many Vietnamese. We stayed there
Mhm.
probably for about 60 days uh, doing missions around Saigon and stuff, and then we moved out and a little bit farther out of Saigon there after that. In fact, we had the VC had captured an old 47 tank, and they gave our platoon the mission to kill it. And I asked the tank commander at the time. I said, "Hey, look, we don't have no heat rounds. All we got is canister rounds." And he said to me, he said, "Tilley, don't worry. We'll fire a canister round, and then all I want you to do is ram this tank with your tank." I said, "What?" He said, "I want you to ram this tank." I said, "Oh shit!" And in my mind, I'm saying, "I ain't doing that shit." I don't. I wasn't going to ram that tank. Luckily, we never found that other tank, so that was sort of funny, I guess.
That is crazy. Like you just hit it with a gun and then run it over. Oh,
Well, you
okay.
could probably try to knock the track off or something like that, but yeah, it's something you don't want to do. If you ever seen a can, you know what a canister round, Ty? You probably do. I don't know what the other guy, but yeah, okay, you know what a canister round. It comes out and it just just like a shotgun round. In fact, if I remember right, that old canister round had 1,255 little ball bearings in there, sort of flat on both ends, that would come out and just like a shotgun, and just level everything. We used to fire them and blow down sections of jungle when we was clearing the jungle. When it got real thick, you'd fire a couple of canister rounds and sort of clear your way every once in a while. So, it certainly wasn't easy at the time anyway.
Yeah, and so
there's,
was that
you
your?
got some- go ahead,
Oh,
man.
no, go ahead.
There's some comments in here. Rick Morris, former 716th MP Battalion.
Oh yeah, I know. Hey, Rick.
Yeah, great. He's not too much of a basketball player, but he is an excellent command sergeant major. I was under his command when I made sergeant. He put me through the first NCO induction.
Oh wow.
Shout
that's
out
a while
Rick
back.
Morris.
Yeah, so you did you said you were on there for 11 months. Like, what's the total time from start to finish that you were over in Vietnam? Did you do more than one deployment, or did you do
No,
one
just one
total?
deployment. Yeah, I went 67, 68, and I came back. And in fact, I came back and I was a drill sergeant.
And how long were you there for, though, total time?
Just 1 year in Vietnam. That was it.
Okay.
Just that period of time. Yeah, usually that. I mean, yeah, there was, we lost if I got the numbers right, I think it was like 58,220 died in Vietnam. And if you look in comparison to things that went on in Vietnam, is somebody get wounded out in the field, they may not be able to get them out and they'd bleed to death. So a lot of the casualty we had was, and nowadays on the battlefield, you can get them up, get them out, get them all, sort of passed up a little bit and get them back to a hospital. In Vietnam, you couldn't do that. So the other thing is that we're going to talk about Vietnam is that, we talk about PTSD. I've had PTSD for probably over 50 years. And certain things I talk about, I still tear up a little bit, but, the people that came back out of Vietnam, we didn't really do anything for them. You spent, you had USs and RAs. So if you're US, you spent 2 years in the military. You go through basic AIT to Vietnam, stay 1 year, come back, have 6 months, get out of the service, or earlier than that. And a lot of those guys had probably a lot of them had PTSD and never got any help. So we had a lot of people that come back from Vietnam really, I'm sure, struggled for a long, long time, and maybe some of them took their life by suicide. I don't know, but that was just a tough time. And of course, now they're doing a lot better. They have a lot more things that they assist veterans with when they come back from war. But anybody that goes to war, I don't care who you are or what service you're in, when you come back, you're changed. You're changed inside. And you look at things a lot differently. I think if I look at myself right now, I think I went from 18 years old to 55. I grew up. The other thing I tell people, when I went to Vietnam and I came back, in fact, I think in war that your heart turns black a little bit. You don't look at life. You do what you got to do to stay alive. And I remember one time I was riding down the road and I don't know where he was going. We were riding down the road and I remember there was a guy on a telephone pole actually got electrocuted and fell off the pole. And I was behind a track, an APC. And I remember looking at these guys in front of me, and there was two of them sitting up there. One machine gunner and one guy was just sitting off to the right on the back of that PC, because you didn't ride down inside in Vietnam, because if you got hit by a mine, it'd kill you from inside. That shrapnel and stuff would get you. So you get blown off, you get hit by a mine. But anyway, these guys were looking at in front of me, looking, driving. And I swear, they didn't even look. They just sort of glance over and fall out of there and then look back to the front like it was no big deal. The guy just fell out of the thing. So that's why I say when you go to war, you doesn't matter what war you're in, you change inside and you look at things certainly a lot differently.
So what was your return home like coming back from Vietnam? Because obviously you stayed in the military for a long time after.
No, I didn't.
Knowing that you were going to stay in, how was that coming home for you versus guys that were, like you said, they come home, they get out? Like, what was it like for you coming back?
Well, first of all, when I came back, I came back, stayed as a drill sergeant, stayed about a year and a half, a little bit over a year and a half. I enlisted for 3 years in the service. So I had 3 years, 30 days. So after that 3 years and 30 days, I got out of the service, stayed out 2 years. And then I decided after 2 years, I liked the Army and actually come back in, and I wanted to go back to Vietnam. And so your question was, how was it when I came back? I really struggled. I didn't fit in. as long as I was around, like I was talking a little while ago, as long as I was around some other veterans, I felt okay. But when I got out of the service for those 2 years, I really struggled fitting in. It was really tough for me, and I just, I just people didn't speak the same language, and I changed so much during war, and it was just really hard. And so I decided just to go back in the service.
And so what were you doing while you were out for that 2 years? What
Well,
was your...
I did a bunch of stuff. I worked for a company called AAA Heating and Cooling. I'd sell people to get their ducts in their house cleaned and stuff, for a while. And then I drank a lot of beer. I used to go. It took me probably 10 months. I didn't do anything. I just draw unemployment and found my unemployment ran out. And so I had to go to work and do something. So anyway, I worked for that AAA heating and company for probably about, 6 months. And then I worked for a chemical company, and they'd make fertilizer, I think it was. But I smelled so bad every day, and I just couldn't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. So after about another 8 or 9 months, that's enough of this shit. I'm going back in the military. I go do something else. And when I went back in, I said, well, send me back to Vietnam. I thought, hell, I get promoted a little bit fast. I was in fact, coming out of Vietnam, I was an E4. When I got to be a drill sergeant, I got all ready to staff sergeant in about 3 years. So I was already a staff sergeant when I got out.
And so you came back in same rank?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, when I came out, in fact, when I got out and I started to come back in, I kept going by the recruiter and talking to these guys. And finally one day the guy called me and said, hey, look, the policy now, you can come back in, retain your rank as a staff sergeant, just lose your time and grade. He said, but in about 90 days, they're going to change that policy. So when you come back in, you'll come back in as a private and then have to start all over again. So I think the next day I went down to recruiting station. About a week later, I was gone.
So here's the magic question, though. Was he telling the truth?
Yes, I hope.
Because when you said that, I'm like, this dude could join right now. We got to make that number. Call him right now.
Well, the fact of the matter, it was whether or not he's telling the truth or not. It was probably the best decision I ever made in my life.
Yeah.
Because any successes, I think I've had, been married a long time and got some wonderful kids and grandkids and everything. But it's the best decision I ever made staying in the military because it set me up for life.
Yeah. So what year did you get out for the 2 years?
66 to 69. Stayed out from 69 to 71 and came back in 71.
Okay. So now when you came back in, right, 2-year break, came back in, what was different and how was that coming back in, right? From being out and seeing how it was outside of it, and then, being removed for 2 years, what was the transition for you to come back in? How was that for you? Was it pretty easy to just jump right back in the saddle, or had some stuff changed where you kind of had to figure it out again? You know what I mean?
Well, it was pretty easy. I got to tell you a funny story. So I went back in and I went to Fort Jackson and I was a staff sergeant and I just fell into the formation. They said, oh, you new trainees get in the formation. Civilian clothes. I got in the formation. And they'd march them, and I'd march right along with them. I didn't say shit to anybody. I didn't tell them who I was or not. But they could see it, but they never said anything to me. So I said, shit, I'll play with these guys. I'll just keep doing what they do. And so this lasted until we got a uniform. So we got our uniforms, all dressed up, and boots and all that shit, and got in formation. And when we got back to the barracks, the drill sergeant says, "Hey, the first sergeant wants to talk to you." And I said, "Oh, yes. Okay." So I went and reported to the first sergeant. He said, "Tilley." He said, you're a staff sergeant?" I said, "Yes, first sergeant." He said, "Well, why don't you have your rank on?" I said, I didn't have no rank. Nobody said anything to me. So put your rank on. I said, "Okay." So I pinned my rank on. So then I went back out to formation and I just stood behind the formation. And then one of the guys I'd been standing next to, he said, "How did you get to be a staff sergeant?" I said, "Well, the guy said I was marching good. So just as long as I stayed in step and shit, I got promoted." And he said, "All you got to do is just, smile and keep just marching good and you'll get promoted quick too." I said, "I guess they just pick guys out of the formation." And so,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. But it was sort of funny. But so I went, I went there, and then I stayed there for a little while, and then went right back on drill sergeant duty. So I had 4 years as a drill sergeant. You talk about, I love being a drill sergeant. I thought that probably, helped me more as far as when you talk about leadership, of dealing with people and motivating people, and figuring out ways to get the best out of people. And you could it was sort of trial and error, but I loved being a drill sergeant. I thought it was one of the best jobs in the Army.
What do you feel being? Yeah, go ahead, Al.
No, I was just curious. So, what did you keep the same MOS when you came back in, or did you switch your MOS?
Oh, I kept the same
Okay.
MOS. I was a tanker. Yeah, I was a tanker. In fact, I just had two MOSs in my in my military career. Really, one was a correctional supervisor, opened up a correctional facility up in Fort Lewis, Washington. And the other was it was a 19 Echo, and then they changed it to 11 series or vice versa. One of the, I can't remember now. Yeah, but I stayed in the armor all the time. But really, if you look at it, I was God, I told you before, I was a staff sergeant 2.5 years. I was I had to wait for my time of grade, but I was a 7-7 and 8 and 12 or 13 years, and I was on the sergeant major's list at about 18.5 years. I was in the Sergeant Major Academy, and I think I was made E9 when I had about 19 and a half, 20 years in the service. So I got promoted pretty fast, I guess.
Yeah.
But I wasn't, I tell people all the time, I probably wasn't the best soldier in the world, but I just sort of did my job, stayed focused. And I always tell people that all of us have responsibilities, but I stayed in my lane. I didn't worry about what everybody else was doing. I just did my job the best I could. And I love competition too. I think that brings out the best of you sometimes.
Yeah. Do you feel like some of that and the leadership that you were able to instill on others, and you said you loved being do you think being a drill sergeant, seeing young men and women come into the service with, a clean slate in most cases, and then having to build them into a soldier after, and seeing that transformation, do you feel like that helps you when you go beyond that and you become a sergeant major, a command sergeant major? And do you feel like that gives you a bit of I would say like an extra gear to be able to get more out of people, right? Because you see what they're like before they're even a soldier, and you can bring it back to them. Or
oh yeah, no, I think any kind of leadership position like that, where you're in charge of people and you're developing and growing, because you want people to be successful. You want to get the best out of those soldiers. Even if you're as a first sergeant and got a company commander, you want to get the best out of the company commander. You want the commander to be successful also. So yeah, it was always a lot of fun. And sometimes you got to pat people on the back. Sometimes you got to kick them in the butt. And sometimes you just got to look at them and talk to them and say, look, here's what you got to do. You just got to find out what makes people tick. Nobody's the same. Everybody's motivated by different things. So you got to figure out exactly what motivates that individual. And then the other thing about that, how do you pull all those different people from different societies into a well-oiled team? Because we fight as a team, and how do you get them to come together? And there's a lot to be said about lead by example. Show people what's right. Effective communication, sit down and talk to people, just effective counseling. A lot of people will just, not a lot of people, I shouldn't say that, but sometimes people won't talk to the soldiers or sailors or airmen very much. They'll just say, well, go do this or go do that. Sometimes sitting down and talking to them and figure out exactly what their lives are, what's going on, know their families, know what's going on in their life. That's a big deal. And they know, and then the other thing is they know if you care, they know if you care. And, just by the way you lead them, the way you talk to them.
Oh yeah.
And I always try to treat, like I said, I started out a little rough in life, but I always try to treat people fairly. And if you got something to say it. And I never would stop people from saying anything. As a leader, what you do is you listen to the information, you sort of sort everything out, and then you make a rational decision about what's going on. And that happens in a matter of seconds, right? But one of the things you don't want to do is cut people off. Don't let them talk. Let them talk. Let them say what they want to say, and try to mold them and develop, because your responsibility is to make them successful and make them a good non-commissioned officer, or make them a good officer. You're right. Yeah, but you got to coach and develop. That's really what you're getting paid for.
So after you were done as a drill sergeant and moving on in your career, what was the next thing that you were? I mean, if you were in armor, I'm sure going from the Gulf War to Bosnia, like how much of these were you involved with before 9/11?
Well, not a whole lot. The 9/11, I was in the Pentagon during 9/11 when 9/11
But
hit.
leading up to the 9/11,
Yeah.
did you do anything in Bosnia, or did you do anything?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
When they
was.
were in the
Oh yeah,
first
no,
Gulf
I
War?
was a division sergeant major when I went into Bosnia. When I went
Oh
into
wow.
Bosnia, yeah, yeah. That was they killed what is it, 60? I can't remember. Over 60,000 people they killed. A lot of them in Bosnia were more women and kids. But when we went into Bosnia, there wasn't nothing moving. There was no vehicles on the road, no nothing. And they had mines everywhere. And so one of the things that we talked about before we even went into Bosnia is, of course, you didn't get off the vehicles, stayed on the vehicles. You didn't, stayed on places where you knew roads were clear already. In fact, I think we just rolled into Bosnia and we had an MP company actually got off the road a little bit and blew up the Humvee and blew one of the driver's foot off. I think blew his foot off and stuff. But yeah, that was an interesting place in Bosnia. That's for doggone sure. But we stayed there a year, and luckily during the time we was there, they didn't do anything. I worked. I don't know if you guys ever heard of a guy named General Nash, Bill Nash. He was the commander when I went into Bosnia, and he was tough as nails, but he was honest, fair, and just a really, I thought, a great leader. And I remember one time that we had a unit. Of course, we were supposed to, take their weapons away and all the war and fashion and all this stuff. And we had a unit of one of the brigade commanders said he had one of the units he contacted. They wouldn't let him in to check for weapons and stuff. And he told him when he was there, he said, "If you don't let us in, I'm coming back tomorrow. Tomorrow, the next day, with my friends." And the guy said, "You can bring anybody you want. We're still not letting you in." So the next day, he come back with I think 4 or 5 Apaches and a couple of companies, at least one company of Bradleys and probably some dismounts there, and went back up to the same compound and says, "Hey, we're here to check your weapons again." The guy said, "Oh, please come in, let me in." Let me in.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
you put it that
So,
way.
well,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah. Well, he'd have blown the shit out. And the other thing is that
Yeah.
I'll tell you one more story. This was a Bosnia story. As non-commissioned officers, again, I've said it already, we get trained to coach and develop and work alongside our officers. We're not in charge, but we're there to do, work along with them and make sure they're successful. And so I was doing something, checking some stuff out, and then I ran into this God, it was an infantry platoon, I think it was, and they had all these worn fashions in between their Bradleys. And the lieutenant said, "Hey, Sergeant Major, would you help me get these guys out of here?" I said, "Well, they shouldn't be here anyway." He said, "Well, Sergeant Major, would you help us get them out of here?" I said, "Oh, absolutely, I'll help you." And so the drivers, I had 4 vehicles. We ran in 4 vehicle convoys over there. So I pulled 2 of the vehicles up, and one of the gunners, or 2 of the gunners, I said, "Well, I want you to drop down, charge your weapon now, and see those 4 guys standing on that little hill about 150 meters away." He said, "Yeah, I see them." I said, "When I tell you to, I want you to kill them." And the guy said, "What?" "Yeah, I want you to shoot as many times as you can before they hit the ground." He said, "Okay, Sergeant Major, but I want you to do one thing. When you charge that weapon back, I want you to make sure they see you charging that weapon." And the guy said, "Okay, be a little aggressive, a little noisy." So the guy got up there, pulled that weapon back, and dropped down inside. And guess what happened? about 15 or 20 minutes later, all these worn fashions, they left those Bradleys. They all moved out because
Hmm.
those guys were controlling them from the top up there. They're not going to get in the middle. So I'll tell you one more story out in
Tell
Bosnia.
as many as you want.
No. Well, this is sort of good. We was going down a convoy, and they rerouted the convoy. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, there's some guys sitting in the middle of the road up there that we can't get by." I was like, "Tell them to move." And the guy said, "Well, Sergeant Major, somebody did, but they wouldn't move, or they didn't move." "Okay, all right." So you know what I did? I took my 4 vehicles, went up that road, and here they was sitting on the side of the road, had a little pot, and they're cooking shit. And So I had one vehicle in there and two vehicles. I had two vehicles drive by, maybe three vehicles drive by. And the last one I said, sit back, behind a little bit, but keep your weapons, just point it right at them. And I walked up to him and I used to carry an M16 and a 9mm. And so I dropped the magazine down on that M16 a little bit so there wasn't a round in the chamber. And I pulled the bolt back and I walked back up to him and I had the weapon on my hip. And I said, "You guys speak English?" And one guy says, "I do." And when he said, "I do," I slammed the bolt forward and then tapped the butt of that magazine up. I said, "Get your ass up or I'm going to shoot you. Do you understand this?" And the guy looked at me and all picked their shit up and hauled ass, left right there. So, I mean, my point is that when
everybody
you're a war,
speaks that language.
Well, you don't play games. This is not a joke. This is not, in our profession, there's no second best. We raised our hand, said, "I'll protect and defend the Constitution of the United States." Now, a lot of people don't know what that means probably, but I do, and you do, is that you're willing to kill or be killed in the defense of our country. And so you don't play games. I don't play games, right? And if this is my mission, this is what you asked me to do, I'm going to do all I can to make sure I complete that mission. And that's what that somebody, when we was talking about Vietnam, when we was coming back out of Vietnam, people were pissed off about the war and all the other shit. And I used to tell people, I don't make these decisions. That's your political leadership. I do what our country asked me to do. So don't blame that stuff on me. Talk to your senators, your congressmen, or the president. Talk to whoever you want to talk, but don't blame anybody in the service about what we do, because we do what you ask us to do. Mm-hmm. And we have to do it, and we have to do the best we can, or we're going to get hurt or killed. And one of the things we talk about the people that die in war a lot, but we don't talk about the wounded, the PTSD, the TBIs, the people that lose limbs. If you die, you don't, that's it. That's the finish of your life. But if you're wounded or disfigured, that stays with you the rest of your life and you'll never get away. That's why I talk, before we started, I've had PTSD and there's certain things I talk about. I cry sometimes. Well, that's me. Everybody's a little bit different. I understand that. But those things that you go through will never go away. Now, that was at 18 years old. I'm 77 years old now. Now think about that for a second. Will that ever go away? Nope, it'll never go away. And you talk about the people that are incarcerated or homeless or have taken their life by suicide. The problem they have is they don't have nobody to talk to and they can't function no more. And that's why I always say, reach out and talk to somebody. Let them know how they feel. We talked a little bit about, just a simple act of kindness sometimes can save the life of somebody. And you may never know that. So it's important to do things like that.
Well, you hit on a,
I'm not rambling on too much.
No, you hit on you hit on a really, really good point. And we talk about it on this show a lot, but and people who have served in a combat zone, I don't care what, like you said, I don't care what war it was in.
Yeah.
To us, it may have been 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but it feels like yesterday.
Absolutely.
Right. For most of us, it feels like it was yesterday. I served in Iraq back in the early 2000s, the Fallujahs and Ramatis and all that.
Yeah.
But it's been a long time. But for us, for veterans, you just never know. I mean, it feels like, and me and Ty talk about it a lot. It feels like yesterday, right? I mean, you remember the smell, the sounds, all the stories, just like it just happened. It's people. I've heard people say stuff to veterans like, why don't they just it's been a long time. They should just get over it. They should just move on. And unless you've been downrange and been in that environment, you'll never grasp. You'll never understand that. Like, hearing you tell the story in Bosnia about your M16. Hey, I remember our gunny saying that. Hey, we don't have an interpreter. Let me tell you. Let me promise you this. Everybody speaks a universal language called Benelli or Moshberg. They speak that universe, but it does. It feels like it was just yesterday. Like we were just downrange yesterday. So there are veterans out there who are dealing with immense amount of stress and pressures and learning how to cope. So my question for you was, so you've served, like Matt touched on it, in so many different conflicts and different situations. What was the biggest difference that you noticed in your transition from leaving Vietnam and then when you left the Gulf War, Iraq, or Afghanistan. What was the biggest difference in that transition? And
Well, yeah, I really wasn't into Gulf War. Now. The only one I was into veteran. I went and visited the Sergeant Major Army, and I sent troops over there and stuff like that. But I didn't get over there. The Middle East. The last one I had was really Vietnam and 9/11 and stuff like that. When Iraq kicked off like that, I was in the 194th, and we was disbanding our unit. And so we sent individual replacements. In fact, I called Branch and asked them to send me over there because I wasn't sending any more soldiers over to go. So I think the war is war. Technology may change. The kind of equipment that you fight wars will change all the time. Is because we have to get better and better. But the things that you go through in war never changes.
right.
It'll never change. The things, in fact. That's again going back to people struggling as you get older and you start thinking about things like that. It becomes even harder because there's nobody that can really identify the kind of things that you're going through. You remember things. I did some. I'm sure you guys have. I did some things that you just sometimes just don't want to even talk about or even think about. And I've seen some things I don't want to certainly think about anymore. But they're back in the back of your brain. They're sort of snuggled back there, and certain things will happen that'll make them pop back up. But again, all you can do, I think, is talk about it. And I think talking about it is a form of therapy that helps you. If you don't talk about it, you'll hold all that stuff in, and then you're going to explode. Something's going to happen.
Yeah, if you're not talking about it, you have all this time to think about it, and the longer that you think about it, those demons that are in there that are going to want you to do the wrong thing or make you feel like you're not worth something or whatever the case may be for everyone. I feel like the longer you're in your own thoughts and not getting it out is where that doesn't help. And that's why we, like Al said it, I'm sure Ty's so like, this is why we do this, because we need people to see that no matter who you are and where you've been and what you've done, I mean, there's somebody here to talk to you. We'll do it.
Well, you got to find you got to find that Sergeant Major mentioned it. You have to find your tribe. You have to find a healthy outlet and people that you can relate to and you can talk about it. Because I joke with Tyler all the time and say there's this monster inside me, right? There's this monster from war that's buried deep down, but he's only held back by a baby gate. Like there's times when I want to let that baby gate down and let him out, and it's not healthy. And you have to find somebody that you can lean on and you can relate to. You have to find your tribe, whether that's through the VFWs, through podcasts, through veteran networks and organizations. You can't just sit on your couch and just fall deeper and deeper into a darkness. You have to find an outlet and you have to find a tribe. You've got to find that new mission and that new purpose. And we've all dealt with it when we transition out of the service and we transition into new careers and new fields. You got to find that purpose. And if you don't have a purpose, especially in our veteran community, man, it's easy to get into where, you want to commit suicide or you want to just lash it at the world and you want to just break shit and punch holes in walls. But if you can find your tribe, man, it definitely is a game changer.
Well, I'll tell you, the other thing that happened to me is coming out of war, and sure it happens to a lot of people. We talked about how many people incarcerated and taken their life by suicide. When I came out of war and I was 19 years old, for 2 to 3 years at least, I went through some anger issues.
Yep.
I mean, it didn't take me. I'm not a big guy, and I'm certainly not a strong fella, but it didn't take much to set me off to just turn on somebody. In fact, I was in Holder Complex. I don't know if you've ever been to Fort Knox or not, but I was working in Holder Complex, and this guy got up in my face, and he was a sergeant first. Oh, he's a sergeant first class, and I was a staff sergeant. And before I knew it, I hit him, knocked him over death. I knocked him over death. Well, what happened was, and the luckiest thing in the world, the guy got up, and he says, "Tilley, go home." And you know what happened now? I went out, got my car, and all the time I'm driving. I lived in Eaton, Kentucky. I'm driving home, and I'm thinking that's the end of my career. I'm gone. I'm finished. And this guy's going to court-martial me. I came back the next day, went into the office, and just went back to work. God never said anything to me.
Yep.
And then that afternoon during lunch, he walked up to me and said, "Hey, look, Tilley, I'm going to give you the biggest break in the world. Don't do it again. Go to work."
Yeah.
Now, see, now that guy could have finished my career. I mean, I would never been anything other than what I was right there.
Yeah.
Right. But people need to, you got to understand that people are going to make mistakes in life. You know, I made mistakes going to reform school. I made mistake hitting that E7, right? A bad mistake, right? But you're going to make mistakes, and you got to make the decision. How do you coach and teach and develop? Once you make a mistake, is what you do after that, right? How do you sort of change yourself a little bit? How do you learn from that? And I learned a great deal. You know, that helped. That's another form of leadership for me. You know,
Yeah.
always don't lose control. Talk, listen, see what's going on. You can. I remember watching NCOs really get on a soldier, and you can make a soldier fight. You can make a soldier say bad things. You can make them do anything you want to do, and then sort of court martial them or do something else. So you got to figure out how to get the best out of people. When somebody's angry, what do? Sit right there. I'll be back in about 20 minutes. Do the same thing that sergeant did to me. Go home, Tilley. And all the time I'm going home, I'm thinking about it. But I'm thinking about what I did. What is it wrong? Why did I do it? And so when I came back, he realized that I'm probably not a bad sergeant, but I made a bad mistake, right? And that's, again, coming out of those 2 or 3 years coming out of Vietnam, I do things that a flash in a moment. I realized I was doing them. It's too late. So I was lucky.
So, biggest question for me, what made you want to put your name in the hat to be the Sergeant Major of the Army?
I didn't want to be.
Oh, that's a common thread, actually.
Yeah.
Walk us through it, though.
No, but I was a battalion, a brigade. I was a division sergeant major for 5.5 years. That's about 18,000 plus people. Then I was a Space and Missile Defense Command. That's a very small unit, probably 1,000 people or something like that. And then I went to United States Central Command. So I was a CENTCOM sergeant major with General Zini down there for about 3.5 years, I think it was. And so when the slates come out in the military, I don't know how it is from the Navy, but I think it's probably about the same. It goes out and say, hey, you know, if your sergeant major qualifies to be the sergeant major of the Army or compete for the sergeant major of the Army, you know, submit his name. And so all these guys are just, it really is the guys probably at the 4 or 3-star level are probably more competitive than anything else. So I didn't submit my name. And then a guy named Larry Strickland called me. He says, I see you haven't submitted your name. And I said, no. He said, well, okay. You're not going to submit it? I said, no. He said, okay, click, and hung up. And so the following day, the Sergeant Major of the Army, Bob Hall, called me. And he says, hey, Jack, because he always called me Jack, and I called him Sergeant Major. I knew him a long time. So he said, Jack, why aren't you putting your name in the hat for Sergeant Major for my job? I said, well, Sergeant Major, I've been around a long time, and I'm a little bit older. I want to try to go work for USAA. I've been talking to some guys out there. I'm sort of negotiating here a little bit of a job. I like Florida, down here in Tampa. I enjoy it. So that's sort of the direction I'm going. He said, well, let me tell you something. He said, I'd like for you to put your name on the slate for my job. And I'll say, Sergeant Major, first of all, let me tell you that you know, the Army's been good to me. If you want me to put my name on the slate, just have more guys on the slate. I'll do that because, you know, you're asking me to do it. Sure, Sergeant Major, I'll get a packet together and submit the packet. And then he said something that was sort of funny to me. He said, don't worry. I says, what do you mean, don't worry? He said, don't worry, they'll never pick your ass anyway.
And then you're like, you lied to me.
Well, I don't know if you know how it works. What happens is as you go up and you really go, it's almost like a Sailor of the Year board or promotion board or anyway, you go to a hotel. You fly in one day, and then there's usually, I think there was 15 people that were there, and they'll give you a time at the time it was at the Hoffman Building. And so they'd give you a time, you go over to the Hoffman Building, you go in, and there'd be a guy or a gal that would have you go into this little room and sit right there and wait. And then you'd see a guy who was in being interviewed come by. You can't talk to him, can't say anything to him. And he'll go by, and then they'll call you in. You'll report to the president of the board. You don't even know what questions they're going to ask you. and then you'll on the board there was I think there was a 3-star, a couple of 2 stars, and then the current sergeant major of the Army is there, and he's there to sort of make sure you answer any questions the general officer. There may have been one more guy in there, but anyway, you sit there for probably 45 minutes to an hour, and they ask you questions about all sorts of stuff. And then when you're finished, you go back to the hotel. They tell you don't talk to anybody, don't speak to any of the either the other people that are being interviewed today. Just go back to your room, and we'll contact you. And so about 4 o'clock that afternoon, they start calling. So they'll call you and say, hey, thank you very much for competing for Sergeant Major of the Army's job, but you have not been selected. Thank you very much. And you'll see people going out the hotel, getting in cabs, going, catching an airplane, go back to the unit. Or they'll call you and say, well, you've been selected for the next phase. Be ready at, I think it was 1800 downstairs. You'll get in a truck with the other 3 or 4 guys, and they'll take you to the Pentagon. So then me and 3 or 4 other guys were selected. We went to the Pentagon. They put you in a big room. Same thing now. You'll go in there and sit, wait, and they'll call you in one at a time. Again, be interviewed by the chief. Come back in and sit there. And so I think I was the second to the last that was interviewed. And then we was waiting. And then finally the chief come in. And this is sort of my impression. Anyway, the chief came in and he says, well, he says, first of all, I want to thank all of you for coming up and talking to me today. And I don't know who I'm going to select as a Sergeant Major of the Army. And every time he said Sergeant Major of the Army, he'd look at me. My impression now.
Yeah.
And I was on the other side of the table, and these other guys were on the other side. I was on the side of the table by myself. I don't know why. But anyway, so he talked to us for about 10 minutes and thanking us all and stuff. But every time he said Sergeant Major of the Army, he'd look at me. And I thought, oh, shit, okay. So I went back and I seen the commander, General Zini, Anthony Zini, which was a Marine I was working with at CENTCOM. And he says, Sergeant Major, how'd you do? I said, well, I don't think I did that good. I thought the interview was pretty good, but there's a lot of other guys that certainly more qualified than me. And then I think it was probably 2 weeks or so after that, they called me on the phone. This is sort of a funny conversation. He says, hey, look, Sergeant Major, I got to tell you something. It was the Vice Chief of Staff, I believe it was. And he says, you've been selected as Sergeant Major of the Army, but you can't tell anybody.
No.
I said, what? He said, you can't tell anybody. I said, can I tell my wife? He said, yeah, tell you what, but don't tell anybody. You can't, because you got to it's got to be official. You got to officially release it and all this other stuff. And they got to do background. Well, they've already did background checks, but a lot of stuff they got to check out. So, but you can't say anything until they officially announce it. And so I think about, it must have been a month and a half or so after that. And then they announced it. Yeah.
I wouldn't have made it.
I wouldn't have made it, bro. I'd have been I should have been on social media. I'd already had a t-shirt. I had a t-shirt made.
Oh yeah. No. Well, let me tell you a funny thing. So I went to a conference at Fort Knox, and I'm at this now I'm the CENTCOM Sergeant Major. And when I went in there, I think I was on the left-hand side, probably 2 or 3 from the end. And I'm saying, people say comments, and I'd raise my hand and say, hey, I'm going to make this comment. And everybody they'd sort of nod their head and all that shit. Yeah. Okay. And they'd sort of go over what I'd said and just kept going on. Well, that evening, they announced that I was going to be the Sergeant Major of the Army. And I'm still at that conference. The next morning I came in, my chair was right dead center in the middle. And everything I said, I was the smartest son of a gun in that room. Right. But the day before that,
they were like, okay, be quiet. Pipe down. We got it.
The thing about it is you may not believe me, but I think sometimes what happens is leaders, your head swells up.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. You get promoted to staff sergeant first class, or first, whatever rank it is. Every time you get promoted, your head swells up a little bit. Well, the fact of the matter, everybody's got a squad leader. Everybody's got a platoon sergeant. Everybody's got somebody in charge. I don't care who you are. Right. And so I used to tell people, don't change who you are. In fact, there's a good friend of mine, unfortunately passed away, John Stevens. He used to, again, he's the guy that called me Jack. When I was selected as Sergeant Major of the Army, I was up in the Pentagon, and he called me on the phone. He says, Jack? I said, yes, Sergeant Major. He said, you mind if I give you a little bit of advice? I said, absolutely not. He says, first of all, he says, don't change who you are. Sometimes people have a tendency to change when they move into those businesses. Don't change who you are. They hired you based on what you did prior to that. Don't change who
Mhm.
you are. He said, the second thing is, he says, you're going to get a whole lot of new friends being a sergeant major in the Army, but never forget who your friends really are, right? You're going to get people asking for all sorts of stuff and trying to get, just be cautious about that. He said the third thing is 50% of the people are going to like you and 50% of the people aren't going to like you. So when you make a decision, you make a decision based on what's right for the Army, not for you personally, but what's right for the United States Army. Don't let your personal feelings get in any of this stuff. What's right for the Army and the right for the service members in the Army, right? And I say that makes, and if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense.
And this
Sometimes we get
sergeant,
hung
this
up about, well, like, people get hung up on what they think is right. It's not about what you think is right. Now, you may have your opinion. I got opinions about everything. I'm sure you guys do too. But you make a decision based on what's right for the organizations, for your company, for your platoon, for your squadron, whatever, not what's right for Tilley. And sometimes the right thing may not be right for you, but it may be right for the majority of people that you're working with.
Yeah.
And that is why I never would have ever been selected to anything like that. Because I'd have been like, remember that one time when you made me go to the armory and clean block weapons all day long?
Yeah.
Got your ass now, buddy.
Yeah, but if you think about it, and so I was a senior listed guy at the time now for 1.3 million people, right? Now that's a hell of a lot of responsibility, and so what I want to do, and you really only have 4 years. I only say 3.5 years because they changed it out a little bit early because when our sergeant major in the Army got relieved, and so they wanted to get everything back on track. But you only have a few years to make to make changes in the military that affect everybody. So my focus was pay, right? When I was at E9, when I went in the office, oh, it's a lot more now. It was God, what was it? I'm guessing here a little bit, like $32 or $3,300 a month was your salary or something like that. But we was able to move that up to like 39. We got like a 24% pay raise or something like that, something like it. So that was a focus. And then also housing was a big focus for us. So, and TRICARE too. So those little things that, I think I want to say E9's got about oh man, they got, I'm guessing again, about a 15% pay raise. But we had targeted pay for, E4s, E5s, E6s, E7s, E8s, and E9s. And what we wanted to do is make sure when you went from E4 to E5 or E5 to E6, there was a $200 or $300 raise in there, $300 or $400 raise. So it means something when you get to that next level of promotions there. And if you're an E9, at the time when I was an E9, a captain with 12 years made as much as I did. And what's wrong with that picture? Right. So you have to pay that. Oh yeah. Well, you have to pay that. Yeah. You got to pay for, 36 years of the service. I'm making as much as a captain. Something wrong with that pay. But now going back now, they really did a great job now on pay, and they're getting paid pretty good money now. So that's good.
Yeah. So, you go into the office, and I wanted to ask you about your journey into the office before this one. So you had alluded to it earlier.
Yeah.
You were in the Pentagon for 9/11. So if you don't mind, can you tell us the story of how the day started for you, what it was like, and kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, sure. God, I remember. Here you go again. I remember like it was yesterday. I was, I was sitting in my office, and the guy that David Shad, he was a public affairs non-commissioned officer that I worked with at the time, and he came in and said, "Hey, Sergeant Major, you got to turn on the TV." I don't know if he came in or called me, one of the other, but he got a hold of me and says, "You got to watch the TV." What? He says, "Something's going on in New York. A plane hit at New York, at the towers in New York." And I said, "Oh my God!" So I turned on the TV, and actually, I don't know if I'd seen the first one or the second, but I seen what was going on, and I was supposed to go to Fort Myer and talk to some officers, and so I went to so we had a vehicle out there, and I went into the office. There's like we had 3 or 4 people in the office. Said, "Hey, I don't know what's going." I told them, "I don't know what's going on, but something's going on. So stay close to the phones. keep me informed if anything goes on, especially around here. So just alert me if something comes up, okay? And I left. Went out of the building. I was going up Fort Myer. I went up and talked to a bunch of lawyers up at Fort Myer at the Officers Club. And when I was coming down the hill, the plane hit. The plane hit the Pentagon. And so what do? You go to the sound of the guns. That's whatever I mean, that's what you're taught to do. So they turned the vehicle. I went back to the Pentagon, went back. And this is a funny story. I went back to the Pentagon. When I was going in the Pentagon, there was a guard standing there, had his machine gun sort of laying on his belly. And he said, "Hey, you can't go in there." I said, "You're right." And I ran right by him. I went up to where my office was, and everybody had already evacuated. I came back out of the Pentagon, went around to where the plane had hit, and start. People were sort of running around doing things all the time. And then they said another plane was coming, and that whole crowd of people was, sort of scattered and going everywhere. And once they realized there wasn't another plane, everything sort of calmed down a little bit. And then I've never seen anything like it. Firemen, the firemen that go out, the police, the FBI. I mean, everybody was right there. And they started shoring up the place and trying to do all the thing they could. And me and a guy named General Van Alstyne actually went into the side of the Pentagon, was still on fire, I guess it was. And we probably went back about 30 or 40 feet. And it was so smoky that I told him, I said, "Hey, look, sir, if we go any farther, we'll be casualties." And so we turned around and came back out. And then, then everything had just started going on. Mortuary affairs started showing up. And it was just a terrible situation. But the things I remember is mortuary affairs, I'll talk about. The old guard was over there. And they wanted the old guard to take the remains from the Pentagon and put them in body bags. And I told them they're not going to do that. Don't let them do that. Let the mortuary affairs people put the remains in the body bags, and then let them carry the remains out. But that was just a terrible day in fact, after they put the fire out, I remember going into the Pentagon and seeing one body, but it was burnt so bad I couldn't tell if it's a man or a woman. That was a terrible day for this country, and a terrible day for all the military services.
And where was your area of the Pentagon located in reference to where the plane went?
I guess they hit. Let's say, for example, let's say they hit on the south side, so I'd be on the west side, right on the west side, right there. But yeah, so I wasn't. The smoke and all the stuff that came off the fire, we was the last corridor that didn't get it, so it didn't catch us right there. Got a little smoke, so we was far enough away. But that was that I think I don't know if you ever seen picture of that plane that hit. That plane hit and skipped, and I think it would have went all the way to the middle if it had been just lucky it stopped, I guess. But that was Again, that was a terrible day. I don't remember the actual. I think it was 187 people. Is that the number? Is that right? I can't remember. 87. I can't remember the number now. Yeah, that was a bad. I don't know. Probably the people that are listening don't want to hear that, but that was a bad day for our country and a bad day for all. What's really bad is that for that moment in time, our country pulled together.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was, people say, "Hi, how you doing? What's going on? Can I help you?" And all that stuff for about 3 days.
Yeah. We were back to being Americans for 3 days.
Nobody is successful without having a team. I used to tell people, I can disagree with you, but the fact of the matter is that we're all part of a family. Families are going to argue and they're going to bitch at each other a little bit. But tell me what you think. We'll come to a logical solution and then going on. It drives me crazy sometimes. People say, "Well, I want you to do this. If you don't do this, I'm going to do this." Well, that's bullshit. Do what's right just like John Stevens says, it's not about you. It's about what's right for the country, for our Army, for our Navy, whatever. It's not about you. It's not personal. And I think sometimes people lose sight of that.
We learned that when we make Chief Petty Officer in the Navy. That's the first thing. That's like one of the biggest points that we drive home, it's not about you anymore, and it never will be ever again. Once you've once you got to this spot, it doesn't matter what's going on. It's never about you after today. It's never going to be about you ever again. So we drive that point home.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, one of the things that I said, I always like to tell people I talk to, I'm probably not the most religious person in the world. Remember I told you about the tank, all the people got killed before I got on, and after I got off, they all got killed. I had tell you two stories here real quick. I had a little Bible, little pocket Bibles they give you when you go to war, you deploy somewhere, they give you yeah. So I had on the side of the tank in Vietnam, I had a 50 caliber box. And I used to put all my stuff in this box, right? My money, my wallet, and extra things I wanted to keep, pictures and stuff. And they gave me this when I went in the Xeon, I think it was. They gave me the Bible. And so I took this Bible. I got to be honest with you. I didn't open it up, but I took this Bible and I put it in my 50 caliber box. And I've been out in the field for about 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. And one day, I don't know why, I was sort of sitting around doing nothing, sort of looking around, trying to find something to do. And I was looking through this box, and I opened that Bible up. On the second page of that Bible had a blood print, a little mark. There was some blood right there. And I never opened this Bible up. And so I kept that Bible with me the entire time I was in Vietnam. And the way you left in Vietnam was they would actually they'd come out, bring a helicopter out and says, "Hey, Tilley, you're going home today," or something like that. And you just get all your stuff, get your duffel bag and all the stuff that you have, and jump in a chopper and then go back. And the guy told me, "Say, hey, Tilley, you're going home." And I was a body escort going home. And so I grabbed all my stuff. I got in that can, and the only thing that was missing in that can was my Bible. And even today, I thought to myself that that Bible was my lucky charm all the way through. So that was that was
So when you left,
time.
it wasn't in there anymore?
It wasn't in there no more. It's just gone. So it stayed with me all the time I was there. Nobody ever got in that box, that 50 caliber can, but me, and nobody would touch it. But when I got ready to leave, it was gone. Now I'll tell you again, I didn't tell you about my family too much, but I had an older son that had pneumococcus meningitis. And I don't know if you know much about the meningitis, but anyway, he's 15 months old, left him temporarily blind, temporarily deaf, 20 to 30 convulsions a day, had encephalitis, which is a coating of pus over your brain. He had I don't know if the average is 80 pounds. He had 300, which caused all the damage. And quite frankly, I always thought that he'd die by the time he was 5 or 6 years old. And they reassigned me to Fort Lewis, Washington. But all the time I'd say, I'm a soldier. I got to do my job. My wife still, I can't say enough about families. Families really carry the load for a lot of us. There's no question in my mind about that. And my wife went through a lot of stuff, but I kept soldiering on, doing my job, not telling anybody about, I'm sure they knew what the issues were with my son. And so I went to Yakima Fire Center. I'm shooting tank gunnery. And my wife calls me, says, "Jack, you got to come home." I said, "What's wrong?" He says, "Brian's sick." I said, "Okay." So I went and told the first sergeant Brian was sick. I got to go home. So, I had my car up there. So I went home, and when I went right to Madigan Hospital, and when I got to Madigan Hospital, I went in and I seen the doctor. I said, "Doc, what's going to happen?" He said, "We don't know." Now, I don't care who you are, when you go to war or something happens to you and you want to do something, what do? You pray, right? And so at this Madigan Hospital, I don't know if it's still up there or not, but at Madigan Hospital, there was a small chapel there. And I went in and got on my hands and knees and I prayed, right? I said, "God, either let him live or let him die," right? Now, that's not fair. And at the time, again, he's having seizures, 3 or 4 kinds of medication he's taking. Nothing's working. It's just terrible for him. And I realized, I just thought to myself, man, God help him at either let him live or let him die. And the doctor didn't know what was going to happen. The next day, there was nothing wrong with him. So you can, you can tell me whatever you want to tell me about stuff, But I believe, honestly believe in life, if you believe strong enough about what you're doing, it's going to happen. But you got to have that positive attitude, and you got to believe, So
Yeah.
I believe in life. I believe in God. I think, taking care of your fellow man and woman is the thing to do, each and every day. And it's important for us. I like it, going back to what I said before. It's important for us to talk and find that tribe and communicate and do the kind of things that you need to do, because we're all, we all have issues, like I said before, but we all can help each other. It doesn't matter if you have a whole lot of money or you don't have any money. You're all part of a family, and you got to make sure that you do all you can to take care of each other. And it doesn't. I may give crap to the guys in the Navy, the Marine Corps, but still, you're my brother, and I'm gonna help you out.
That's right.
Well, I mean, so since you decided, Sergeant Major, to turn the heat up in the room, you can tell that Ty's got his sunglasses on. He's throwing fire on the screen.
I didn't mean to do that. Wait a minute.
He's ready to put you through the hot seat. So now we can have you answer some of his hot seat questions. So Al and I are going to take a break, and we'll be back with you in a minute. But it's now time for Ty to throw you through the hot seat.
All right, Ty, go ahead, buddy. Be gentle now.
No, I mean you hit it on the head when you talked earlier in the interview. You talked about this being therapy, and we talk about the just being able to come back and talk some of the same talk, hear some of the same leadership philosophies that we have. You spoke about being a grandfather. I'm a grandfather now, so the thing that really piqued my interest during the show, I'm looking at all the comments in the back. Appreciate you watching on TikTok. Appreciate you watching on YouTube channels. Be sure and like and subscribe. I've noticed a lot of the leaders that I respected, that I was with every day, really have a pretty healthy reverence for you. We've had Sergeant Major of the Army, Kenneth Preston, on here, and when you can have people come out of the woodwork and start talking about this, that's the right answer. So thank you very much for sharing a lot of your leadership philosophy throughout the interview, and we'll get started here. If you were to, as a 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, if you were to give today's soldier going into the military, what is the thing that you think that they need to prepare themselves for the most?
Probably being physically fit. It seems like there's a lot of young adults nowadays that just aren't physically fit, and be mentally tough and be open-minded. I think a lot of times and probably the other thing is don't listen to a lot of people that are around you. Sort of stay focused. Remember, I talked about staying in your lane of responsibility. Don't worry what's going on to the left or right. Just stay focused on what you're doing.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So we at the beginning of the show, we kind of do something that's a bit of an homage or something funny for the guest that's coming on for the week. So for you, we had a little video of the M48 tank. So I've said this a couple times, the width and breadth of your knowledge goes from Vietnam all the way to the global war on terror. Do you keep up with it? And if so, do you think we're still on the cutting edge for equipment as far as a military needs to be equipped with?
Yeah, well, the answer is probably yes. I think that, when I came in the Army, I came in with the M14. When I left with an AR. So the Army is constantly changing their technology and equipment. It's just a constant change, because what happens is they're warring fast and start getting the same kind of equipment we do. So we have to continue to change. So change is, part of the Army. So I think we're probably up there. We're probably doing the best again. I think the one thing that is different from when I was in the military now is those doggone drones. There's some bad systems right now, especially when they're dropping ammunition on you or bombs on you or whatever they're doing. But I think that's the biggest difference right now. But the answer to your question is, yeah, we're staying ahead of the game, I think, quite a bit. But we got to make sure that we continue to develop our young non-commissioned officers and officers as far as leadership and taking care of people. That's the key. That technology may change, but the way you treat people and the way you lead people is never going to change.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. All right. I know that you've probably asked this question 900 times, 9 million times in boards, but I'm going to ask you, as the Sergeant Major of the Army, out of loyalty, duty, respect, self-service, honor, integrity, and personal courage, what's the most important Army value?
I don't know. That's a tough question. Integrity is probably a good one to start with right there. I think they're all important. I don't know if you can can say one's more important than another, but they're all important. That's why they're there.
Appreciate that.
Well, that's probably the easy way to get out of that one.
Hey, you're the Sergeant Major of the Army. If that's your answer,
No, but it's I don't know. I used to tell they're all so important. And why would we say one's more important than the other? I mean, you say courage and integrity. I mean, they're all important to all of us, and we got to make sure that they're just not things that you look at. They're things that you live by, each and every day.
I would give a different answer every time. So I grew up with first sergeants like Lonnie Lochner, and I think Rich Woodring may have been on my promotion board. And being very, what'd you say that for? And just being able to defend your answer. So that was kind of a funny question anyway. Yeah. Okay, if you had one hour conversation with one person from history, who would it be and what would you talk about?
1 hour with somebody from you talk about military history. Of course, I think I'd probably talk to my my old boss, General Shinseki, about our time in the military and the things we did or didn't accomplish when he was the chief and I was the sergeant major in the Army. That's one person. Can I have one more?
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I talked to him, and then I'd probably really would like to talk to each one of the commanders I had as I grew up through the military, and talk about the time and what we accomplished at those points in my life.
That's an excellent one. So, hey, bring us both on screen if you don't mind, Matt. So, I had this question that once you said that, it brought this up. So, why did we switch to the black beret in 2001? I mean, you hear that as being accredited to General Eric Shinseki. I never had a problem with it, but I know that some people did. So why did we switch?
Well, a lot of people don't realize that we talked about that beret for probably 20 years, right? And the thing about, and I don't remember all the details, but I used to have it down pat. What they wanted to do was, I think it was General Abrams at the time, wanted to do was to make us the best Army in the world. And so what we wanted to do is start with one organization wearing the beret, and then finally everybody in the Army wearing the beret. So that was really the concept. They talked about it for 20 years. Now, when General Shinseki implemented the program, he went out to every 4-star and 3-star in the United States Army and said, hey, I'm going to implement this beret in the United States Army, Durnay, USA, or whatever, any issues or stuff like that. And nobody come back and said anything. But what I found, though, is and it's just a uniform change. As far as I'm concerned, just a uniform change. Now, everybody's a little personal about that at the particular time, but it's a uniform change. We change uniforms all the time in the military. We go from different headgear, different uniforms all the time. So it's a uniform change. And so when he implemented the program, I heard so many different complaints about why were you taking this thing away from anybody. And I thought to myself, how undisciplined we are. Once the decision's made, then we fall in line and follow the rules and just do what we're supposed to do. So after a while, I guess it probably hurt a lot of people's feelings, but I thought it looked pretty good.
Yeah, I still have my original one around here somewhere, but we're saving the beret coming back from Kosovo in 2001, and I was a brand new. I think I was a specialist at the time, so I was just like I was told.
Well, let me just tell you one thing. When I talk about following questions or doing what's right for the military, we had a unit. We had a unit. First sergeant company commander refused to wear the beret, and somebody contacted me, so I contacted the organization. I won't tell you where it was at, and so, hey guys, you got to, you can't just make decisions for yourself. This is not a democracy, or commander makes a decision, you follow it. And so they actually relieved the first sergeant, and I'm not sure what they ever did with the company commander. But again, when somebody makes a decision, we have a strong Army because we all fight together and we're a team. If you start making your individual decisions and nobody stops you doing that, how undisciplined we are. And so that's, I may not like all the decisions, but as long as it's not going to hurt anybody or kill anybody, I'm going to follow the rules here.
Yep. Move out and execute. Absolutely.
Yep.
Of all your travel, Sergeant Major, what's the most unique place in the world you've ever visited?
There's too many places. I mean, golly, that's not fair. I spent time in Korea and Germany. I spent a lot of time in the Middle East, especially when I was in CENTCOM. I'd probably say Germany was a favorite place. I like Germany. Germany is good, but there's no place like home. I like the United States more than anything else.
Yeah, I do too. I appreciate that answer. As of today, what drives you in life?
Oh, wow. As of today, I think doing all I can to make life better, not only for my family and my grandkids and my great grandkids. I have 5 great grandbabies. I think trying to take care of them and do all I can, that's one thing. Okay. The other thing is I want to do all I can to help as many veterans and their families as I can till the day I die. I think there's too many people out there, like I said before, that struggle, that sometimes just need a little helping hand. And I'm going to try to be that helping hand if I can, whether or not it's a conversation, whether or not I can, I don't know if I can loan them any money, but I can put them in the right direction. But sometimes people just need help, and I'm going to help as many people as I can, as long as I can. I think that's what drives me more than anything else. And of course, the other thing that drives me is my wife. I love it. I've been married 56 years. She's my best friend. And I may give her a little bit of trouble every once in a while, but I know who's in charge. I got to tell you a funny story here. You know who Jeff Allen is? He's a comedian.
Yeah, comedian.
I've been around for about 50 years, but I heard him say something the other day I thought was really funny. He said, whatever your wife says, don't say the first thing that pops into your brain. Don't say the second thing. Say the third thing. If you say the first thing, you won't be married long. If you say the second thing, you still won't be married long. And the third thing, you're probably going to be okay. But don't say the first thing that pops in your brain.
Sage advice. I appreciate that one.
Yeah.
We always ask whenever, you say that you're going to have Sergeant Major of the Army on, we get questions. So this is a question from one of our listeners. Is there anything that you would have done differently throughout your entire career?
Oh, God. Throughout my entire life, I think I would have got more focused on education when I was a younger kid. I sort of went through school and sort of just say, I'll meet the requirements. And if I got a C or a D plus or something like that, I was okay. I wish I'd have took more time working on education a little bit. The second thing is I wish I would have stayed in contact with a lot of the people that I met throughout my military career. I bump into them every once in a while, but there's a lot of guys and gals that I met throughout my military career that mean a lot to me, and you see them for 3 or 4 or 5 years and then you never see them again. So that's probably the 2 things that I think are pretty good. Education and stay in contact with those people that mean so much to you that you may never see again. The other thing, probably one more thing too, is keep reaching out to people and trying to do all you can to make their lives better. I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy doing. I still get emails from people I met 20 years ago, talking about different kind of things. So, stay in touch, keep helping, keep doing all you can till you're no longer on this earth.
Well, we are definitely honored to have your time here tonight. And I do want to give you a chance to talk about, you've got millions of views and so many people that watch your streams. Talk about what you have with your podcast and what you have with your, the JTilley Inc. going on.
Well, the JTilley Inc. is just a small company that I have that there's a bunch of retired sergeant majors and me working to put our veterans into college. We've been doing that for, close to 20 years or 18 years. I can't remember the time frame. That's JTilley. And it's just, again, a small company. When I got out, I tried to work for somebody. I didn't really like it. So I opened up my own company and started doing different things, contract and stuff. So that's probably the best thing. The other thing, I just throwing that as far as transition, make sure when you're transitioning out of the military that you start 2 years out and you start getting your stuff together before you ever get out of the military. And guys like me will help you do that if you need some help. The second thing is the podcast really was an idea of a good friend of mine, Ted Acker. And, Ted and me years ago started doing concerts. We did concerts for maybe 10 years or something like that. He started hiring events, but we started doing all we can to help the veteran communities. So he came up with this idea about doing a podcast, and I said, "Yeah, that's a good idea." And he says, "Good, you can be the host." And I said, "I don't really want to be the host, but if you want me to be the host, I'll try to do the best I can." But the good thing about the podcast is it's another way for us to reach out to our veteran community and try to do all we can to help them out. And the other thing we say, you can go to I think it's 844-424-1134 or SMA Tilley at yournextmission.org. And if you want us to talk about a specific thing on the show, you can either shoot us an email or text us, say, would you talk about whatever? But we want to do all we can to help our veteran community as long as we can. And we're going to do all we can every day. Now, the other thing is on the hired event, I think we probably put 6,000, 6,500 people to work in the last 10 or 12 years or whatever the heck it is now. But we're doing little things that hopefully they add up to be big things in the future.
Yeah, there's so many comments coming in. Halls of Rhetoric. This is Beth Harris, one of our Al Heroes teacher in high school. Helped him get into the military and turn his life around in high school. So you talk about, thank you for doing what was right for those under your leadership and for our nation. That's amazing to see. All right, so last question. Well, we got one more question, the big one, but last question I'll get to before that. I know you had to roll around a lot. We always ask people, what is their mission playlist? What was that song you listened to before you went out on mission?
What's the song I listened to? Hit the Road, Jack. Of course. I don't know. I always like oldies but goodies. I like the Temptations, the Four Tops. I like those kind of songs. But I do. There's a song I listened to the other day by Alabama, and it's called "It's an Angel Among Us." Here lately, I've been listening to that song, and so I'll pick a song every once in a while. But that's for the people that listen. If you've never heard the song, you ought to listen to it. There's "Angel Among Us," and that's by Alabama, and Jeremy Johnson, I think, sings it too. But it's really a powerful song, and I love music. And I tell you the other thing about music, for me, a lot of times if you close your eyes and listen to the words, because a lot of these artists that put songs out, there's a clear message in that song, and sometimes we don't hear it because we're for whatever, we're probably just listening to them sing or whatever. But close your eyes and listen to the words, and you'd be surprised at what you pick up there.
Appreciate that very much. All right, here's the big question. Who's the greatest of all time, Michael Jackson or Prince?
Oh, I like Michael Jackson. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
There you go. Somebody had told me one time, Michael Jackson used to go to Korea, and he used to stop and visit soldiers in Korea. I don't know if it's true or not, but I was told that. And I like his songs because, here's a perfect example of there's a message in the song. The Man in the Mirror. I love that song. There's a lot of things like that. I think Prince was good too, but I like Michael Jackson. I like his songs. I like his beat, and he's certainly pretty entertaining. He's a very talented young man. The only problem about, I think now, guys like him is he probably lived a pretty sheltered life. He probably didn't have a whole lot of friends because he was so talented and whatever. But he's I probably say Michael Jackson anyway.
Absolutely. So it's it's contentious, but you're bringing Michael Jackson right back. So for a while, Prince had to leave, but it looks like you're bringing Michael Jackson back.
We got it
very much. It's always cool to hear. We attach emotions with the songs we heard from that time. So, of course, Vietnam had the Flight of the Valkyries. That was the song. What song do you think most identifies with like GWAT? From seeing from like the Sergeant Major of the Army perspective, what did you hear the soldiers listen to the most?
I got to be honest with you. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. I don't. When I was a Sergeant Major of the Army, I don't know if I told you this. I traveled 800,000 miles, and my brain was clicking all the time about things were going on and how we get stuff. And the hardest thing for me to do is get sleep. But I don't know, because I like country music. Probably liked country music back then. When I was in Vietnam, I liked, like I said, soul music, Temptations, Four Tops, and all the rest of the guys. But I don't really know. I'm not sure.
Hey, that's a good enough answer right there. So I'm going to bring the guys back to you for the last one here. What can we do as a podcast to get better?
I think all you can do in a podcast is keep talking to people, bring people on, be very straightforward and honest. I think don't get into politics, stay out of politics, do things that are right for soldiers, talk about issues that you have that's going to help our veteran community. And the only way to do that is talk to people and find out exactly what's going on with the soldiers today. I think the soldiers today, they're always worried about the same thing. They're always worried about pay raises, where they're going to live, what kind of benefits and entitlements that they're going to get. I said don't talk about politics, but I think one thing we can do a little bit with politics is educate our leadership with the House and the Senate and the rest of those guys about the kind of sacrifices our veterans make, our families make each and every day to allow them to be free.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sergeant Major of the Army, 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, retired Jack L. Tilley. You have graduated from the Triple Threat Vet Hot Seat. Appreciate very much your time.
Hey,
Go ahead, Matthew.
No, I mean, yeah, that's thank you for the feedback. I mean, I'm just gonna let you know there's 3 guys here. You ever need some cool ass stories on your podcast, we're more than willing to come on, tell some stories and help some people get forward, right? Especially with different perspectives, anything we can do to help in this arena to get enough information out to veterans as you can, so that they know that there's a lot of stuff out there that can help them, like you said. Some people may hear something in the moment that's going to help them right then and there. And I love how you put it before, being kind to people and being nice to people and listening to them or talking to them. We all have no idea how many people we've helped by just doing that 1, 2, 3 times. You're never going to know, but if you always approach it that way, then, it's going to make the world a better place for sure.
Well, the thing about it is don't change who you are. Remember, I talked about that. Don't let your head swell. I used to tell people, whether or not you're a 4-star general or a private, you're no different than anybody else. And I think most people look at it that way too. You just want to do all you can to make life better for the people around us. And in fact, I've talked about this before. You ever run into somebody that's just mad about something, and they're mad all the time, and all they do is they try to pull you down. They try to bitch about stuff. And I got to be honest with you, I try to get away from those guys. I like playing golf. I love playing golf. But if I got to play with golf that bitches about everything, I'm going to play golf and enjoy life. Life is too short to get caught up in bullshit.
For sure.
Enjoy your life. Do what you have. Be kind to people. Be polite to people. I did a little test where I live. Every car that comes by, when I'm outside walking my dog or going on a little road march for myself, I wave at them. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Now, guess what happens now? I did this for about 6 months. Every car that comes by honks and waves. Every day.
What's crazy? A lot of people don't realize that's it's being neighborly. That's being Absolutely. Like, we're all in this community together. We're all friends together. Hello.
Yeah.
Just waving to somebody lets them know the next time they see you, if they need help, they can stop and they can ask you.
Absolutely.
And you're going to help them. My son would wave at people in a neighborhood we lived in a while back, and he'd wave and they wouldn't wave back. And he came home and he's like, I waved to all these people. They don't wave back. I'm like, well, they're just assholes, son.
Yeah, but my wife did that one time. When I was a first sergeant, we had a wives meeting, and she come back. She said, "Oh, this was terrible." I said, "Why?" She said, "There's only 4 wives that showed up." Right? I said, "But that's 4 wives. You got to
Yep.
start somewhere, you
Yep.
know." And again, a little bit of kindness goes a long ways. There's too many angry people out there that are pissed off about everything in life. Don't let them pull you down. Stay away
Yeah.
from them. If they say something they want to piss you off, just turn the other way. You know who? You ever watch Jag on TV?
Yep.
I was on an episode of Jag, by the way.
Our hero, Jag
I
Extra.
Was you really?
Episode of Jag, yes.
You know who Carrie Turner is?
I was on the 12th juror. That was an extra. It was crazy.
Okay. Anyway, so Carrie Turner was on Jag, and I've known her for years now. And in fact, I gave her away. When she got married, I gave her away. But she told me one time, she said, "Sergeant Major, you got the knack." I said, "What do you mean the guy the knack? You have the knack of ignoring people." What do you mean by that? It says, "Well, if somebody's saying something bad, you just sort of turn." And I do. If somebody's talking bad or saying shit, I don't care if they're talking about me, as long as they're not in my face talking to me. I don't care. I'm not going to lower my standards and start being what they are by being an asshole, right? Just enjoy your life. Don't let people, that's why I keep saying, don't let people pull you down. Be who you are. Be positive. Every one of us on this podcast tonight are role models for young adults. And people look at us every day. The things you do, the things you say, your actions and stuff. So we have to be role models for young adults, that are getting out there doing crazy things sometimes. So, I like I said, I have 5 great grandbabies, and this is sort of a funny story, but I'll tell you this anyway. So, my one of my relatives it made a picture of me and my wife and put it on a pillow and gave it to my granddaughter. Right? That's sort of a neat idea. I thought I didn't even know it. But the other night, I guess my oldest grandson was scared, right? And you know what he did? He went and got that pillow.
That's right.
Right? And he said, "My grandpa will protect me."
Oh, absolutely.
Now think about that for a second.
Awesome.
I mean, it is awesome because you have such an impact and you never know it sometimes. People will go around and say things or do things, and they don't realize that people, either positive or negative, that they're impacting in life. So I just think take every moment you can to make it better for all of us.
But I think that's the whole adage too, when you grow up, and like with my kids, and I know, Al and I know Ty's done it too. When you have kids that are growing up, and they're going through rough times, and especially in today's world with social media and all that stuff, they get all the time. And I used to tell my son and my daughter all the time, I used to tell them, listen, the only reason somebody's going to treat you that way is because they are envious of what you have. Probably. Like if they don't have the same things that you have, they're going to have to find a way to drag you down. The easiest way to do that is to make up something about you or talk bad about you or be mean or be ugly or whatever it is, man. Just turn around and walk the other way. It's fine. Because here's what's going to happen. They're being, mean, senile, whatever they're doing, right? They're trying to get a rise out of you. The best thing you can ever do to a bully is just walk away.
Well, bro, it's a known fact. It's easier to pull somebody off a chair than pull somebody up on one. So it's a fact, right? And my wife always
hate it when you just turn around and walk away. You ignore it. That rise you give them. I used to tell my kids, when you get angry or if you get mad or you start going back at somebody, and it's the same way right now for all of us as adults and everything that you're seeing out there. The more that you yell and scream back at people, the more that whoever wants to get charged up like that is going to win, because they want that reaction from you. Like, just don't pay attention to it. If it doesn't affect you, bro, you don't have to worry about it. You don't
enjoy where you're at. Enjoy where you're at on the way to where you're going. It's easy.
Look at your kids, look at your family, look at everybody around you. Enjoy those things. You don't have to take away from that. And it's just, if we were just nicer people and treated people a little bit better.
Well, Beth Harris Beth just nailed it. I mean, Ty put it up. She nailed it. I mean, people may not remember your name or your face, but they will never forget how you made them feel. She
absolutely
100%.
So well said. Well, I used to tell people there's a lot of people as good as I am, but there's nobody better.
That's right.
Hell
Well,
yeah.
I mean, the fact about, you ever run into somebody that wants to talk down to you?
Oh yeah.
No. Yeah, we're all here the same. Nobody's better. We're all the same. Yeah, I think you're right. She hit it right on the nose, though. That's
She
for
nailed
sure.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Sergeant Major, I will tell you this one more time, wholeheartedly, full-fledged. Thank you for coming on. I mean, the career that you've had, the lives that you've impacted, and at the end of the day, we could have gone on for 3 or 4 more hours because you have such a wealth of experience, such a wealth of service, a broad range of people that you've influenced, affected, and brought out more positive. I just appreciate hearing the stories from your service and the leadership traits that you have and just sharing that with people. So I just wanted to say thank you for coming on. We appreciate your time. And if there's ever anything we can do for you, please let us know. We would love to help in any way.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Sergeant Major, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack L. Tilley.
Hooah!
All right, we'll drop you down, and thank you so much again, Sergeant Major.
All right, thanks, man.
Well, how about that?
That's super cool, man. Yeah,
And
he's
Call. Indeed.
Doc.
There's
It's cool to see all the comments coming in tonight from a bunch of different leaders. You see people are watching this on LinkedIn. When we have somebody like that, I usually put it on our LinkedIn. You get a lot of different people coming out of the woodwork. So appreciate the Larry Bennett's, of the world. Larry Legend is what we call him. Some great leaders.
But honestly, there's only one.
There's only one Larry Legend.
Oh yeah, well, yeah.
There's only one Larry Driscoll.
I have to branch that out. Yeah,
the Larry Legend that tells the story about the lockup in Brooklyn is the legend, dude. You know what I mean? Don't smell that money. Remember, don't smell that money.
That's great. Oh,
in my absence, I didn't mention the book Soldier for Life, Leader Lessons from the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack L. Tilley. He's probably talked about this on his podcast. Please check that out. The information and the knowledge in this book and his perspective on everything that he talks about is amazing. I mean, so
there it is. Add it to the reading list, dude. Sergeant Major of the Army writes the book. About...
Just saying. I mean, I think we need some signed copies. I need a signed copy of that book.
Yeah.
But Sergeant Major, if you could digitally sign it in the audio version, I would appreciate it because he can't fucking read. You know what I mean?
The audio.
I mean,
yeah. All right. So
you read the book for him because he can't read, obviously. You know what I mean?
In the sports, I don't know if you can see this, but it's not looking good for us.
That's what it is.
Whoever Bish Daddy is, 58. Good job. You're doing well. My bracket was looking good for the first night's game.
How the fuck are you still way up there and your champ is out, bro?
Yeah, I know it fell apart. I don't think I'll probably move down, for all the games I missed.
So here's what's weird. I picked my bracket. So you see the Duke, Michigan, U of H, Arizona. I'm the U of H. But I'm also at the very bottom with 0-ass motherfucking points. And I don't know why, but I have 2 entries. But the entry that matters is the bracket I picked. But I'm like, I was watching it the first day, bro. I was like, oh, shit, dude. I picked some upsets. I'm killing it. And then they played a couple more games. And I was like,
yeah, that's exactly what happened to me.
Hey, Al, which one is your bracket?
Bro, I didn't pick one. I don't do that, bro. I don't do basketball.
Pick teams.
Well, you could have had White Mike
football games.
He would have probably won.
I don't know if he watches basketball. I'm not a basketball guy.
He watches everything.
He does.
Let's see here from Doc Powell. So interesting to hear from leaders who knew him personally. He was just a picture on the wall when I first joined the Army. Yeah, that's the thing, is he was the picture on every freaking wall you went through, and it's really cool. Like some of those people that talk about him and knowing him firsthand and things like that, I
mean, just think about this.
Right fucking answer.
But think about this. What made you want to be the Sergeant Major of the Army? I fucking didn't. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. That's a reoccurring theme to a lot of the long-standing leaders we've talked to in our podcast. A lot of these guys didn't want to go do that. It's just like a calling that comes to them, right? Like, you're the guy. Like, I'll just put my name on the list and go through it just so you have, in his mind, I'll stack more people on there to make it feel like a lot of people wanted it. And then he walks out the door with it. You know what I mean?
That's like, that leadership. That's that humility. That's the mark of a true leader.
But it's also he wasn't looking for it, and he got it. You know what I mean? Because we all have seen it, right? There's a lot of people that's like their goal. Like he's talking about all these, being in leadership, and you're meeting people, like being in the military, remembering guys that when they would make, E6 or chief or senior chief or master chief in the Navy, you see these guys when we served. Al and I seen even in the Chief's mess, these guys that now wear that uniform, they are different, and they're different because now they can actually push around the people that in their mind they felt pushed them around when they were younger. If that makes sense, right?
They let it go to their heads. I can name 50 of them off the top of my head. They just.
But what I mean is, like, we used to always, me and Al would sit in the back of the room and talk about it all the time. Like, yeah, that dude got picked on as a kid. Look at how he's talking in here. Like, it was never about what we're going to do to make things better for everybody. It was all about, like, I need to bang on my chest and I need to be the loudest person in the room, because if I do that, then you know that I'm being business. Meanwhile, Al wasn't the quietest. He was pretty loud. And every time the guy that was loud talking shit, Al's famous words in the Chiefs mess was, "We could take this shit outside right now and settle this shit in the parking lot." I was like, fuck, let me go get Al. But for the majority of the part, to sit back and watch as we did and look at things, we always came out on top on the ranking boards. We always had of the quarters, of the years. People got.
Here's why, though. You know why? You know why, and I do too.
We put them first, bro.
It wasn't about us. It was about
yeah.
And I when I was an instructor at the schoolhouse, I told people all the time, you're walking around this schoolhouse like you're the shit. Take off your rank and walk around this school base. It's a schoolhouse. It's where all the aviation students in the Marine Corps and the Navy train. You want to get humble real quick? Take off them anchors and walk around this base like an E1 again. And remember where you fucking came from, because people forget. Yeah. They think that all the ribbons on their chest, all their medals, most of that, other than all the medals and ribbons I got in my career, only a handful of those did I actually earn. The rest of those were earned by the people that worked for me and with me, and all the shit that they did, all the hard work and effort 100%. They put in made me look better as a leader, because that's all that chest candy. Most of it came from somebody else. Half of it, only a handful of them that I earned, whether it was in combat but most of those were I earned or I got because somebody that was with me or around me was outstanding and exceptional as a sailor or as a Marine, and did an outstanding job. And I got credit as a leader for that. But at the end of the day, you can't forget where you came from. And people do, man. They get you. We've seen it. I mean, there's 100 of them out there who they get, and you're right. They got picked on in high school, and their only claim to fame is that rank on their collar or that rank on their chest. And that's what they live for. And it's sad, because it doesn't mean shit without the people that support you and the people that work for you and the people that are doing the job every single day.
The other part that was always great is those guys that would act that way when people that didn't act like them, all loud and boisterous, would say something, and everybody would be like, we should do that. And they're all pissed off because, they've been talking for 10 hours. Nobody's fucking listening. Somebody says one thing and they go do it, but I'll tell you what, Pensacola was the most intimidating place to go for me.
You're damn right.
As a recruit, like going back there, I remember not as a recruiter, when I went there to Nauru, like, you're just coming out of the beast, bro. You're at quarters every day. Uniforms got to be tight, E5, you're good. When I went back as a chief and I walked around the base, and then one day we came into like the CRF Academy, right? We walk in there, or it was the Continuum, one of the two, but I think it was the Academy. I was a first class. We walk in there, and the Nauru guys came in, the instructors, and they're like, "You fuckers better get your fucking uniforms right." We're like, "What?" They're like, "These A school students come here and tell us, you guys let these guys with all that rank walk around with ribbons looking like that?"
Looking like shit.
And we learned really quick that these young sailors, dude, like, they're going to be nice to you. Morning, chief. Morning, senior chief, because that's the rank they respect. But leave no doubt, the chief that they're cool with in the schoolhouse, like, I saw this chief, he looked like a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe he looks like that. His uniform is wrinkly. To go to a huge continuation of boot camp place is what it was. And Meridian was the same way. When we would go up there, dude, motivating the shit to be going into a reserve center to just talk about recruiting shit. And you hear the students from A school marching to class. and you just hear that cadence, and they're marching through, and these kids are still in boot camp, dude. And I used to get so pissed that more people didn't just stop and watch these guys walk by and stand there and let these young sailors see the senior enlisted leadership of the Navy, these chiefs, senior chiefs and master chiefs, watching them walk by, just standing there looking at them proud, like, you know, like you guys.
Well, it's the same thing with colors. I know they do colors in the Army, and every branch has colors.
People used to run inside.
It used to make me want to fight you. I would fight you if I seen somebody when they played that 5-minute warning, take off running to try to get into a building.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to stand for colors. I'm ready. I'll fight you. I'll drop rank, and we will throw hands in this parking lot. Like, that is so disrespectful and so horrible. And people do that. It's crazy to me. You're on an A school base. You're a senior enlisted. You're a senior NCO on a base, and you're hiding from colors. How fucking dare you?
Yeah, but think about it. It's just kind of where we're at, right? It's kind of where we go to. That's where we're at. Like let's take the easy way out and skirt through it, right? That just speaks to, like, if you hear that, you should probably walk as slow as you can to make sure you're outside when that goes down. The least you could do, still breathing and wearing the uniform, is respect the people that died to be able to allow that flag to raise, right? But
Dennis Butterworth does colors at every barbecue event he's at.
Hell yeah, bro!
Crazy. I love
He's
it.
a true tanker. He'd be right up, say made Tilley's alley. A true tanker.
Yeah, he does colors at every, like, in the morning. He does colors. I'm like, that is cool. Like,
I mean, it's just it's cool to see that. You know what I mean? It's
taps. Like, every time even when I hear taps to this day, it chokes you up. That you hear taps, it's just one of those things, man. It's crazy.
Still stand at attention for the national anthem. I don't salute anymore as a civilian. I don't salute, but I stand at attention. Take my hat off. I put my hat over my heart. Well, growing up, right, my dad, my stepfather, you know, it's like, hey, if you're standing here, hat over your heart, you know, to do that, join the military and salute. Now that I'm out, I'm not wearing a uniform, so I will put my hat or my hand over my heart for that. That's just, you know, me personally for what I do that.
Yeah.
But just to see people out there when you go to these sporting events and national anthems played and they're fucking talking and texting, bro, like, I'm like, you've got to be shitting me. Honestly, like, no, like, could we teach this shit in school again, dude? You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason.
Punch in the face. That's what they need. Punch in the face.
It sucks, dude. It sucks. It just sucks. That's all I can say. That is why, Ty, I know that you can't ever pick A&M in any fucking sports games, bro. Go to that campus one time, dude. Walk around.
Oh no, I know. That's the thing is I say that in my picks, but you know, Tatum is real interested in being in the military. So I said, hey, if you get into A&M, that's one of the best schools there is.
Brother.
But it doesn't matter. I still ain't gonna pick.
I get it. Look, the coolest shit about going to A&M when we did the tour, right? We're taking the tour before Cole went to college. I think this is what got him, right? Well, the first thing that got Cole is we went to the LSU A&M 7 overtime game, Thanksgiving. We were there.
The whole place is fucking shaking while they're playing.
It's shaking, dude. The lights are going out. The music is blaring. And we were there for LSU, right? Oh, bro, that stadium rocks. So then we were walking around for the tour when we walked into the Corps Cadets area. And in the Corps Cadets area, there's a Medal of Honor hall. So when you walk down this hall, you see every A&M graduate that's ever won the Medal of Honor, right? So you're walking down this hall, and then when you get out, the tour guides are like, hey, guys, don't ever get close to the grass in front of this building. And so some person on the tour was like, well, why not? We all learned this, right? If you're on base, what do you not walk on?
You don't walk on the grass.
You don't fucking walk on the grass. They said, touch that grass at A&M. Somebody probably going to tackle you. Period. It's going to happen. Yeah. They're going to get you. I was like, damn. But you could I could see Cole walking around on the campus at A&M and seeing all that history and all the things they do and the discipline that's at A&M. It was like our daughter at Florida State or probably your daughter Ty at Texas State. Like, this is where they're going to.
Hey, bro.
Like, there was no other question for it.
Speaking of LSU.
Well, I had one that went to Texas State, one that went to Sam Houston. So, I mean, it just makes sense. We'll make sure Tatum gets into A&M.
Hey, I don't know if you've ever ridden through South Baton Rouge.
Of course.
Bro, That shit was like baby Iraq.
South Central, dog.
That shit was like, I told my brother-in-law, we accidentally got reverted off the interstate, and I'm rolling. If you're from South Baton Rouge, you a bad.
Is this when you're coming back from my house?
No, this is when we were coming up this last time.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
and bro,
hey, don't be a hater. That's right where LSU's campus is, dog.
Hey, I told my brother-in-law, I said, bro, I don't have enough rounds. I don't have enough magazines in this truck to defend us if some shit.
Oh, you'd have been good, bro.
Just look forward, keep it moving. Let's hope we don't catch a red light, bro. It was crazy. I was like, yeah. If you're listening, you're from South Baton Rouge, I ain't messing with you.
Sorry. Go Tigers. That's all you have to do, Al. When you get out of the truck, people look at you crazy, be like, go Tigers. It's like Roll Tide in Alabama, bro. You hit a go Tigers, you good to go.
I was sweating. I was like, hold on, I need to pull over, get no gas. It's going to be a bad day. We might not make it out of here alive.
Well, hey, fellas, excellent freaking show. So for next week, we got a future guest. We got Bobby Parks, retired Sergeant Major, United States Military Police. Yeah,
Louisiana
this is
boy.
Yeah, he knew Bob Mayer as well, so I'm sure Bob Mayer will be chiming in with some comments next week. But
where the hell was Bob today? Did Tilley write him up in the service or some shit?
I don't know what happened.
Who cares?
Must be too busy.
Yeah, who cares? That's so funny.
Bobby Parks. That's gonna be a lot.
Who cares, Bob?
And then the week after that, Steve Jimenez with Hives for Heroes. That's gonna be a lot.
Hives for Heroes, bro. Gonna get some of that honey.
Some good shows coming up, man.
I'm gonna have to harass him and be like, "You ain't get that Tupelo, honey. You ain't down here in Florida. You ain't get that Tupelo."
Yeah, they do. They got a hive down there. I bet these dudes these dudes are all over the country doing shit for vets, man. Like they got hives in damn near every state where you can apply to do it, get the grant, the whole nine, dude. It's pretty dope.
Well, I love you guys. It's been a great show.
Yeah, take us out, Matt.
Well, you know, it's Thursday, and on Thursday we like to tell stories. And today you got to hear a story from an amazing patriot, American leader, soldier that led from Vietnam through, after 9/11. I mean, that gentleman, Sergeant Major Tilley, has been through the shit, literally, and he's come out on the other end. So I hope you enjoyed his conversation. I hope you enjoyed his stories. If you want to check him out afterwards, he's got a podcast. He's got the book that's out. Go pick up his book. Go listen to his podcast. Do something to get involved. You know, we love telling stories. We love having you guys here every Thursday. Remember, we're going to be going away from Facebook. So I know that everybody likes Facebook, but we don't want to go to jail on Facebook. So we're only going to be on YouTube. So you need to go to YouTube. You need to subscribe. Once you subscribe there, you'll get notified when we're going live, and you can share it with all your friends. And, you know, we love you guys. Come on back. Tell us if you want to tell your story. Reach out to us. Let us know. We'd love to have you. And with that, I'm out.
So I'll keep it real short today just because Sergeant Major hit on it a whole lot. But he's absolutely right. He's spot on. Reach out and check on somebody this week. Like tomorrow, when you get up, go through your phone, text somebody, call somebody, tell them you're thinking about them, tell them you love them, tell them you want them in your life, tell them whatever you need to tell them, but just call somebody and reach out to a brother or a sister and just check on them, see how they're doing. Again, we talked about it, right? Just enjoy your life, right? Be happy where you're at on the way to where you're going, and things will work out. Be kind to somebody this week. Tell somebody you love them. Tell somebody you're thinking about them. I'm out.
If you or someone you know is in crisis, contact the Veterans Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255. Then press 1.